Rangers, second year of existence, have won MLS Cup. Ojo con la
Five Strike Final, Joe Patrick. If identity is just a construct that we create for ourselves to make ourselves feel safe in a complicated world, does it really matter if you're identifying the right person in your signing video? We'll talk about it. Welcome to Five Strike Final.
Yikes! Yeah, I'm just lost. So every time I see the intro now, I'm just like longing. I feel like don't stop. I don't want to have to face reality of what's going on here.
The idea when I made that intro, not the video, the song itself, was to add on to it as more of those moments came along.
Right.
And we're still playing the same intro from, I think, 2020, 2021, something like that. Yeah. We've been doing this a long time. And to celebrate doing this a long time, we're having a little birthday party for ourselves on Friday at Atlantucky Brewery. It's over towards the stadium.
Yeah, it's somewhere near the stadium. I don't have the exact address. Use Google.
But, yeah, Friday, July 17th. That's the same day Atlanta United happens to play Nashville SC in Nashville. If you aren't making the trip up there, game kicks off at 8. Our little pizza party will start kicking off probably around a little bit before that.
Yeah.
Come out, come hang with us, come eat pizza that we will buy for you, and come drink and talk with people who are commiserating with you.
Pizza's on us. It's really not. It's really on you guys because it's money that we get through our loyal subscribers, and that's why we want to do this kind of thing. Is just to show our appreciation for everybody who does fork over a little bit of money to us for what we do here, which seems really trivial, especially sometimes. But it really means a lot, I think, to both of us that people are willing to cross that little bit of a barrier, even if it is a cost of a expensive cup of coffee or something, just for some Atlanta United content. I want to say this especially because I actually just heard something on social media yesterday, Sam, and it's out of context. I was just hearing a clip from a podcast, but this podcaster was talking about gambling advertising, which I'm sure you're hearing in like almost any, especially sports podcast that you listen to. And by the way, I hold nothing against the creators who, do these kinds of things. Everybody has to make ends meet in their own way. And I don't criticize anybody for doing it, but it's just not something I've ever really wanted to do because I just feel like the best way for us to keep ourselves going is through the relationship that we have with our actual subscribers who want to be here. But what was crazy to me that I heard was that at least for some, and I'm assuming these are bigger, media entities, they're wanting a cut of like the losses that gamblers suffer as a percentage of that cut as for how much they get paid versus like a traditional just cost per download type thing. Which is
I not
so
only
to me. It's so bad.
Want a cut of it, Joe. I not only want a cut. I want Bryce Harper to send me a video every single day I wake up. And I want him to say good morning, Sam. You're going to make some money today.
Did you see his response to it? Which, I mean, I don't know if you... So his response is kind of crazy. I don't know if you believe it or not, but if you do believe it, like he said that was a cameo that FanDuel sent to him, not identifying themselves as FanDuel, although it just said something there was something shortly in like the description that mentioned FanDuel, but then FanDuel then took that video and then turned it into an ad. Which is insane.
That's either, well, it is hilarious both ways, but that's either real or it's just the most incredible spin I've heard in a really long time. So congrats to whoever's PR department came up with that one.
Yeah. And so just, in a tougher like media time, I just really appreciate everybody who subscribes to Five Strike Final at all, by the way. And if you don't subscribe even for free, highly recommend you do that. That's basically the way you have to listen to this podcast at this point. And you'll still get, news and some stuff from us, but for all of our paid subs, definitely appreciate them and can't wait to celebrate with them on Friday as we maybe watch Atlanta United get destroyed coming back to MLS play. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's
Nashville's good, right?
Oh yeah, Nashville's good. Nashville's real good.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that one, man.
Unfortunately, we're not buying. Unfortunately for everybody else, we're not buying their beers that they're gonna be crying into.
Might need a few. No, we say all that just to kind of reintroduce ourselves back to you guys. We're starting the second half of the season, the post World Cup, whatever you want to call it, section of the year is starting. Post World Cup semester, I guess we'll go with. And yeah, you got 20 games here to sort everything out. Can you score more than one goal a game is one of the major questions. Can you make some kind of push for one of the wild card spots in the East? It's going to be very, very difficult for this team, Joe Patrick, but at least they've added 2 30-plus-year-old center backs.
Right, exactly. Right. Like, who asked for this? Who asked for old center backs?
Man, the more I think about it, the more I kind of bristle at it. Because to me, like, if you are going out and getting these particular profiles of player, it almost indicates like a win now mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And in what world is this a win now
Yeah.
type of season for Atlanta United, or even a type of 2 seasons for Atlanta United? So you get these guys in as what, stopgaps, I guess. But even then, you know, we'll talk about the contract links. You have Junior Alonso coming in until the 28-29 season, you know, which, you know, by the end of that contract, he'll be 36, 37 years old.
Yeah.
Diaz is a little better, you know, with a 27-28 contract, about a year and a half with a couple option years. That's fine. I'm cool with that. But these were not the needs. These were not the pressing needs that I really had at the top of my list for this team. It's not to say Atlanta won't go out and get the rest of those things done, but it's not exactly a way that is to kickstart the window that has inspired a ton of confidence.
Yeah, and they probably did need some depth at center back, considering they lost Juan Baracol, who they sent back. I mean, it's not much of a loss, really. I mean, if he performed so well, they wanted to keep him, they would have, but they send him, back, let his loan expire. So they do need a little bit of depth there, but you know, you're already paying. I mean, Baracol was making like $1 million or whatever he was. I forget exactly what he was on.
1.2, 1.3.
Okay.
So same as Mihai and Alzate, they're all like right there.
Yeah, so like Mihai is expensive as well. You're already basically paying Mihai and Gregerson. I fear, and I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say I fear before I haven't seen him play, but I think Paulo Diaz is going to be a pricey one. I think he's going to kind of basically replace the budget that Baracol leaves. That's my guess, and my guess is that Alonso is cheaper, and it's why he gets maybe a longer term deal, because so they can maybe spread the money out a little more thinly. But I mean, there's not like, it's not super encouraging for these to be the signings that you're making when you're already paying center backs a whole heap of money. That in MLS you don't really have that much waste to have on your roster.
And you kind of hit at something that kind of ruins maybe my optimistic potential outlook on this, which is that if the money is right, maybe I don't worry about this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they're both kind of like 500K kind of guys, if they're on the Derek Williams special, you know, maybe I don't worry about this. Probably fine, right? But it seems like you're investing a lot into some center backs who are not probably part of the long-term plan for this team. Like physically cannot be a part of the long-term plan for this team. And again, it wasn't the kind of need that seemed readily apparent for this group. So I don't really understand the vision at this point. Now, we talked to Chris Henderson the other day about some of this vision, and you know, it is always extremely hard. I'm gonna say this is like a total compliment to Chris Henderson. It is extremely hard to get him to answer the question. It is straight up. And frankly, that's a skill in his position. Now you can take it the other way and be Garth and maybe be too transparent sometimes. I loved that. I think fans appreciated that. But the other version of it is, you know, you can avoid a little bit, spin things with the way you want to, and you know, try to make our lives a little more difficult, but keep yourself safe, and that's fine too. Like that's the game. We're all playing it. I get it. When I pushed Chris to kind of explain the thought process behind these signings, a lot of it came back to, we need leadership on the back line. The problem for me there is one. I've made my feelings about quote unquote leadership kind of known, I think, in the past, which is that if it won you soccer games, I I think we would have seen Brad Kazan be a lot more successful as a goalkeeper at Atlanta United.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The other thing there is it seems to be a direct response to the U22 signings that you made. Right. Like we need leadership on the back line because we have Thomas Jacob and Elias Baez there as our U22s. Now, Jacob, fine. I think that's a totally fine U22 signing. It makes sense with the profile. All good there. You needed someone who's could be a right back. He's versatile. He has a good pedigree, everything like that. The Baez one from the jump was odd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Didn't fit. Didn't really make a ton of sense as U22 and has not outperformed Pedro Amador in a way that clearly indicates that that move was the right call.
Right.
And so now
like
that
the
you're
biggest need for the team to get another left back in.
Yeah. And so the fact that you are making more signings in response to the signings that have not worked out, it seems like you're building on top of like a really janky Jenga tower that's already going to fall, but you're just kind of stacking more bricks on top of it because I don't know, what else are you going to do?
Yeah. And the thing that irks me, Sam, is that, I think a lot of what we're hearing about these signings, the leadership, the, bringing stability to the defense, to the spine of the team, like these are exactly the things that we heard them say about Mihai, who came in a year ago, and Steven Alzate, who came in a year ago. Like these people haven't even actually been here a full calendar year. And you're basically saying that you need the same help that you were looking for at that point in time. So that's why, and I think that fans, when they come to games, they see it. It's like they see the same team basically has the same characteristics and the same flaws that have existed for really since the end of Gonzalo Pineda's tenure. So that's what's so frustrating about this moment right now. It's nothing against, I kind of actually feel bad for these players because they step into this situation that like, it's not their fault that like, people might not love their additions, but we'll see if they help. I do think that Diaz actually can make things better. I think he has a character about him. Just like when I watch his tape, he has a real tenacity that I think this team needs. And it looks to me like it's not even just the way that he plays, but it's also kind of the emotion that he brings with him to the pitch, like a very kind of fiery South American style of character, which I think that this team could use a bit of a kick up the ass in that respect. But to the point that you make, it's like, the biggest need for this team still is a number 6.
Yeah.
It's still, players in the attack that can score goals. And so for that reason, it's hard to get too excited about what any of them bring, even if they are upgrades.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, it's MLS. Sometimes the signings that don't look like they're going to work out great. And again, I've said this before, but we oftentimes react to signings without seeing the full picture yet. The full picture, when all this is said and done at the end of this window, could be they got in 2 quality center backs for a decent price. Again, these are both free transfers, so maybe the salary isn't and the cap hit isn't too crazy. Maybe they get in a 6, maybe they get in a couple wingers, and we're looking at this window saying, "Wow, actually, yeah, you know what? They know that." But right now, we have to work with the information we've got. The information we've got is they have 2 old center backs added to a team that is scoring 1 goal a game and is not looking threatening to anybody in MLS. Not ideal.
And
not
especially,
ideal.
I mean, when I look at Alonso, I'm especially concerned about how his profile kind of fits into what Tata Martino wants to do. I think Tata, outside of some times where he's gone to a back 3 and he's admitted that he's just had to play deeper than he would prefer. He's a coach that wants to be aggressive and press and play with a higher line, that kind of thing. And I just wonder how Alonso kind of fits into that. Maybe it is. Maybe they will go to a back 3. I don't know.
I've been
They
wondering
do
that as
certainly have
well.
the depth.
But then again, who do you play at wing back?
Exactly.
At this point?
And what midfielders do you rely on? Like, are you going to using a 2-man midfield with this crop of midfielders? Like, there's not really. You need that Koke if you want to play in that kind of way, or a Nagby. Like, you need that kind of number 6 if you want to play with 2 men in midfield in like a back 3.
Cooper and Jay may be
think
rangy
it's
enough
enough.
to carry to like at least cover ground. But the problem
Yeah.
then is like, oh my god, build out is
Right. Exactly.
Lord,
Yeah.
you need someone there to
Yeah.
be a safety valve.
I would say
And
neither of
it-
them are natural, like the problem solvers that
Yeah.
Nagby always was. That Leandro Gonzalez Perez talked about, how you can just pass to him and be that press resistant player. You know, like I think it's the press resistant midfielder is really the kind of player that they lack. Although we've seen big improvements from Cooper and from Jay, and we'll talk a little bit more about them in the show. But like I just don't think it's fair to put that on them at this point. And I would say that if you are putting that on them, you're probably not going to be a playoff team. They're going to take their fair share of lumps.
Yeah, you're kind of setting them up to fail a little bit, which like maybe long term they grow from that, but it's not ideal
And
for either of them.
And we saw, we saw a friendly. I don't know if you want to just kind of get in. Let's just talk. Are you ready? Like we saw the friendly, and we saw him playing Tata playing a back four. There was no big tactical shift there outside of a personnel switcheroo. But
Well, I mean, to speak real quickly, just again about the back three, and
Yeah.
in general about the U22s, you're relying on them so much for width right now, and nothing is going to get better until you stop relying on Jacob and Baez for width in your attack.
yeah,
You know, everyone gets into that 3-2-5 shape now. Everyone does this. This is
yeah,
just what soccer is right now. But if you don't have the people who could actually execute out wide, you're left with again one whole goal a game at most.
Mhm.
You know,
It's interesting. I feel like it's falling out of fashion to have your classic overlapping fullbacks, wingbacks who are those wide players. I feel like more and more coaches are using their actual wingers as those wide players. That gives them a little bit more dynamic ability. Because what I've seen just as a viewer is that like a lot of times those wingbacks who are getting forward, it is very predictable once they kind of get into that area where sometimes wingers, especially wingers who haven't had to make a huge forward run just to get into those wide positions, are able to do a little bit more and be a little bit more creative and pose more threats.
now what I have seen is fullbacks tucking centrally a little bit into the half
that's
space.
in vogue.
And if only you had a player on the left side who could slide into that left channel and be extremely technical and effective
That's
in attack.
yeah. That's
Oh,
what I
wait.
don't get. I feel like Tata would be the one who would want
Yeah.
Amador on the field. Like I feel like Tata would be the one who wants that really technical player. Which is weird. It's odd. But Tata also has certain preferences that he likes, and clearly in these young players, he saw something in them. And I'm not saying that there isn't something in these guys. Like I think they can improve, but it's just it feels unforgivable to me, Sam, for Amador specifically to have played as little as he has so far this season. And it's not like he's like the greatest player in the world or anything, but like there's just clearly things that he can add to the team.
Sometimes you just have to accept like a win. Like you did it. You won. You found the cheap MLS player who is productive.
Yeah.
Congrats. Celebrate it. You don't have to fix it. I think that's part of like we can go all the way back to the initial like roster blow up. Like you won. You found Julian Gressel. You did the whole thing. Pay him.
Yeah.
Oh God.
At this point, I wish they would have traded Amador. I feel like who knows how they would have spent the money, but I feel like you would have rather gotten something for him than for him to have just been on the bench for as much as he has.
And like to that point, man, like who knows how they would have spent the money is like the crux of the whole thing. We can't trust the Junior Alonso and Paulo Diaz signings yet. We just can't.
Right.
There's just no idea. There's no sense of credibility right now. And Joe, you kind of mentioned the friendly, like, look, that this team is obviously searching for answers wherever they can find it right now, and the friendly against Sporting KC, which hey, look, they got to win. They got to win against the I guess the second worst team in MLS technically right now. Maybe aesthetically the worst. They've been truly, truly awful, even worse than a Philadelphia team with like genuinely 7 points. I think.
Wow.
Statistically, they've been worse than Philadelphia.
Wow.
You got a 3-2 win. Congrats. But the big note there, Latte Lot out on the right wing, Alexei Miranchuk central. Latte Lot did get an assist and a lovely, lovely finish from Jay, man. That was freaking outstanding to take the cutback at the top of the box and send it in the top right corner. Great finish. Jay looked awesome.
Yeah.
But Latte Lot does get an assist. Now, my thing here is we're just forcing stuff here now, aren't we? Like
100%. Yeah, 100%. It's the in the office when they hire the stripper for like the guys do like a thing and they like hire a stripper and then it's like, oh no, this is like inappropriate. You could not be doing this. So then they don't allow the stripper to strip, but then they just put her on phone duty. They just have her answer phone calls. It's like, well, we paid you for an hour. Like we're gonna get that. And that's how it feels like with Latte Lot. It's like, well, we got to find something for you to do here while you're here. And so so for that reason, I think it's a worthwhile gambit for them to just do this because I think it's better for the entire team that Alexi is playing centrally and he can then combine more with Jay and Cooper so they can kind of get more involved in the game. I've said that I feel like Alexi's just going to offer different avenues for other players to get involved in the attack, get involved in the game. That Latte Lot just doesn't do because Latte Lot's just not doesn't have a lot of technical quality on the ball. And for that reason, I don't think he's going to be a winger who's like, doing step overs and goes past somebody. But at least I would say that he has a little bit more time to like touch the ball and get his head up and think about, where guys are and potentially spot a pass, even if it is just a simple pass to Jay Fortune, who can then rip a shot from the top of the box. So I think there's more ways for Latte Lot to potentially positively impact the team than what we've seen for the vast majority of the last year.
That's a really good point, man, because we talk about young players getting kind of integrated into a team and being more effective on the flanks in the wide areas because you have less space to worry about. Your field of vision is not 360 degrees, it's 180 when you're out there on the wing. And so maybe just taking that like extra element out of it is a good thing for Latte Lot in this moment to simplify. Yeah, and obviously he needs to simplify, but again, he's not going to beat anyone 1v1. And we've seen from his time at striker that his movement has been very, very limited in his time in Atlanta. Maybe they're thinking that being out there on the wing is going to spark something in him that says, okay, I'm a winger now and wingers run. And so I am going to make the runs. Maybe that triggers something in him, but we're grasping at some straws here.
This reminds me of something that I saw during this break that I thought was really interesting. I wanted to bring it to your attention. I wanted to bring it to your attention at the time, and I didn't, but now's the perfect time. It was an interview with Jermaine Defoe, and he was talking about playing striker. Jermaine Defoe, he's like I remember Jermaine Defoe, yeah, Premier League striker, just like a small little poacher type. And he talked about how none of these young attacking players in academies and stuff, like they don't want to play striker. They want to play winger. And he said the reason is because striker is really boring. And like, even though you score lots of goals, you get a lot of adulation because of that. It's a lot of the things that you've been talking about with Latte Lot that he was saying are like the new, like that's how you play striker is you have to be thinking a lot during the game about where your position is, where the ball is, how you're kind of putting yourself in a threatening position. And oftentimes, the majority of times, you're not even getting rewarded for that stuff, but you have to be doing it all the time so that when that moment does come, you're in position to score. Like, what's the phrase that you use? Like, it's about being in position all the time.
All the time.
Instead of at the right place at the right time. It's being in the right place all the time. And that's how you ultimately score those goals. And it's just something that a lot of young players, he was just talking about academy kids and stuff, like they just don't have, I think frankly, I don't think he went this far, but like the attention span, honestly, to like be doing that constantly. But it's also just like not as entertaining. You don't get as many touches on the ball. You don't feel like you get as involved in the game as you do when you're playing on the wing and doing a little bit of that. So maybe for that reason, it can help Latte Lot. And I don't know, can just give this team a bit of a different dynamic. We've seen Alexi play in that center forward spot a little bit. It's so funny. My brain is so fuzzy from the first part of the season. I'm almost trying to forget it. I forget exactly how many games he's played kind of in that central role, but Latte Lot basically did lose his place in the starting 11 toward the end of that first half of the season where Alexi kind of took over there from that central playmaking position, which is interesting in and of its own right. People will call him a false nine. I'm not going that far. I have a rant about this. A false nine is a striker who completely abandons his position and is like playing with the center backs at times for the sole reason as to not have a reference point at the top of the field. I still think that he will be near, the top of the line, but he will just be dropping a little bit deeper and combining. He'll be more of like a deep lying kind of forward. Anyway, that's a little
He does drop deep sometimes, but then again, Latte Lot, they were encouraging him to do that as well at points this season. So I will concede on that. Maybe not a total false 9 from Alexi, but it does fit for Alexi in the sense that, like, it's not like he was getting a ton of touches out there on the wing, you know? For him to be in a role that does have limited touches, I think is probably pretty okay.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't change a ton.
Well,
like
and
pulling up the
off-
touch percentage numbers now. And
Yeah.
like,
While you do that, I'll just say, like, even off the ball, like if you're talking about like responsibilities off the ball, he's much more better suited to playing centrally. It's why Ryan Dyla brought him in with the idea of playing him as like a number 10. You don't have to deal with as many long runs, long sprints from physically quicker players at the fullback position, as he would when he's outside. So I think Alexi's better suited to be playing in the middle of the park, and then I think Latte Lot's physical skill set suits him for playing out in the wing. Not his technical skill set, obviously, but I still think he can be effective just with his pace.
you got to have the mental skill set too there, though. He's just got to be willing to make the runs and be a runner for Alexi. I'm not sure that's going to be exactly how it goes. Quick point here, just to note how wrong I am about things most of the time. Alexi second on the team in touch percentage in the final third, and so he was getting on the ball pretty consistent amount, especially in the final third. Maybe this allows him to do it in more dangerous areas more consistently with a more balanced team.
Well, and I hope that
we'll see if they even do this. By the way, we were talking about this like they were maybe just trying something.
Maybe they're just maybe it's maybe Latte Lot is like they know they're trying to sell him or something, and he's just standing in as a winger because you gonna have to put him somewhere. You can't just have him not showing up and not playing. But it seems like he's going to be part of this. I mean, obviously they're in a game week at this point, and so I would imagine he's going to be playing on Friday. But I think it also, to another, the point I was making earlier, I think Jay Fortune is a huge beneficiary of Alexi playing through the middle because he's going to be able to link up with them more. And I think that Jay is this team's number 10, which I think is pretty exciting.
Sense, yeah.
I think he is. Like I've said it before, I think he, Miguel, and Alexi are like the three most creative players on this team. And I would say maybe Jay is even more creative. I don't know, because that can be interpreted in a different way, but I want those players playing together up front and linking together. So we'll see. Hopefully Jay can be unlocked after having a really promising start to his injury shortened season where he missed the first several games.
Yeah, I don't know if you've noticed any kind of like advertisements around town or anything like that, but Jay and Cooper kind of keep popping up in these things. Yeah. So the team is at least acknowledging that they are a major part of this. And now,
by the way, Cooper too, like I know we think of him more as like kind of a defensive player, a terrier, et cetera, but I don't know if you remember, we were talking like during one of the games earlier in the season when we were in the locker room talking to Matt Edwards, and he was like, you guys haven't even seen half of his game yet. Like, you got to see him in the box. Like, he is really, really good in there. And we saw him score. It wasn't the prettiest thing. He kind of stumbled, but he was able to, keep his feet, keep his balance, and ultimately had to resort to using a little bit of skill with the outside of the boot to shoot and score. But hey, he did it. So hopefully we get to see more of that from Cooper too in the box.
Yeah, absolutely. Elsewhere on the pitch, Joe, I guess we need to actually talk about the signings themselves at center back. Real quick, just to go through some of the details here. Junior Alonso arrives, 33-year-old center back from Atletico Mineiro. Obviously, teammates with Miguel Paraguay. I believe he plays generally as like a left back for them as well.
Yeah, he was like a left back. They came up together at Cerro Porteño in their academy.
Nice.
Alonso is 1 year younger, or no, older. Yeah, 1 year older than Miguel.
So the trend continues of just signing guys Miguel knows. Galarza worked out pretty okay.
Yeah.
So you know what? Maybe some good signs there. But signed through the 28-29 season, there was no indication of option years. So again, he will be 36, 37 by the end of this contract. Okay. It can work.
Wow.
I mean, Tim Ream is fine for Charlotte. Like, it can work. It's MLS.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be a world beater. The other player, of course, Paulo Diaz, arrives from River Plate, had fallen out of favor at River Plate. Obviously, as Joe has mentioned a few times, chaotically inclined center back, I think.
He will absolutely get red carded at some point this season.
Which, again, is that leadership? I don't know, but that was the buzzword for both these guys, was leadership. over and over again. He's 31 years old. Again, contracted the 27-28 season. So he'll get the sprint season. He'll get this season, basically just 2 years, right? And a couple options for the 28-29 to 29-30 season. A little smaller, but again, I don't know. Could work. Who knows?
No, I mean, again, I like his character. I like what he brings, but I think he's going to frustrate people. I can totally understand why, if you're a River Plate fan and he was like, one of your starting center backs, basically, that he would just make you pull your hair out because of, some of the things I think he's going to do when he's on the field, which is just be a little bit rash in the challenge, just kind of lose his head at times. Like that's just the kind of player it seems like he is. But on the, that's like on the negative side. On the positive side, it's like sometimes I feel like this team could use somebody just like lighting into them. Like,
yeah,
it's the Joseph Martinez thing. It's like the turning the chicken rice table over. It's like it was there a benefit to that at the time. I was like, no, I kind of said I diminished that aspect of him, saying that it's just not professional behavior. Like, but at this point, this team feels like it needs some sort of juice, some sort of kick up the ass. So maybe a player like Diaz can bring that.
Yeah, absolutely. Not bringing that juice or a kick up the ass. Atletico Minero's Macon. Joe Patrick.
Oh my. Yeah, this gets into. Let's actually save this conversation because we had a couple different listeners that wrote in about this. We'll talk about it a little bit more after the break in our paid subscribers portion of the show, where we can really let loose, where I can really let my feelings fly about this. But it's really, I'll just say this right now. It's very sad that something like that would have gotten out. If you are unaware, Atlanta United posted a video highlight reel of the player that they just signed, Junior Alonso, except the player that they were highlighting in that highlight video was not Junior Alonso. It was Macon. And
at least for one clip.
I believe it was all of them. I believe it was every single one.
Okay.
Well, I believe it was following Macon in every single clip that was in that video.
Okay.
It was deleted shortly thereafter. But here's the other thing, Sam. Aside from them getting it wrong, which, I mean, makes me wonder about just like, well, a lot of things that, again, we'll discuss in the second part of the show. But like, do you remember when Carlos Bocanegra was the technical director, at least for some signings, it would actually be Carlos speaking, like presenting the player, like via video, or he would at least have a voiceover that was talking about the player's qualities while they're being shown on the screen. I would love that. Like, I think that would be great for fans to like hear from Chris Henderson directly about why they felt like this player was needed, what he brings. Why can't you? Like, why is it just this, like, I don't know.
I will say
They could add more context.
while we're still outside of the paywall. I will say that professional mistakes happen. We make mistakes. Is understandable.
I've made a mistake similar to this, like identifying the wrong person in something.
However, given the state of the club right now, it is fair to view this as an indication of a lack of care overall. And when you're dealing with the club as a whole in the current state it is in, the standards are higher for this kind of thing. You get less grace. And so, again, I'm bummed for the people involved that this happened. But the response is a larger indication of what's going on with the club right now and how people are viewing it. And that's what makes it noteworthy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, I feel bad for a lot of the people at the club who, I'm sure they're as mad, if not more infuriated by this than anybody else. But what that says when you make that kind of mistake is it says, if you care that little to get that wrong, like, why should I care? Like, if you're showing me this video, like, why should I care if you're gonna identify the wrong player that way? So, which sucks, like that, it just sucks. So anyway,
And on that note, we go now to our listeners. Yes. Okay, Joe Pat.